maintaining good mental health is a mixture of boundaries and doing things that bring you joy.
This is embarrassing.
I'm loving this.
Oh, that for me is the most iconic bit of the show. That's bit, I've got that saved on YouTube.
Hello and welcome to Sex Education Unpacked. I'm your esteemed host, Gina Moore Barrett. Now, let's be honest, we were left with some pretty big questions at the end of season 2. Will Maeve find out about the deleted voicemail? Who's going to be the new head teacher? And will Otis ever get a new jacket? Honestly, that is my main question. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if you haven't binged the new series yet, you might want to do it now before someone else does. Now, one of the big themes of this season is mental health. Whether we're talking about Jackson struggling with anxiety or Amy continuing to work towards healing her trauma, the show tackles some tricky topics when it comes to matters of the mind. In this episode, we're going to be discussing why being open about these topics is so important, not just in sex ed, but in our own lives too. Joining me today are sex education creator Laurie Nunn, plus musician and actor Jordan Stevens, writer and advocate Kenny Ethan Jones, and founder of Black Minds Matter, Agnes Makatuma. Jordan, Kenny and Agnes, welcome to the Sex Education Unpacked sofa. Hello.
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 In season 2, we saw Jackson struggle under the pressure of his sporting career, leading him to experience anxiety, which is something he opens up to Cal about in season 3. Let's watch a clip.
So why did you go all woozy today?
It's anxiety. I've always had it, but it's been pretty bad recently. I think now I'm not swimming, I haven't got a routine. And I get triggered by the most random stuff.
It's okay, I have anxiety too, so I get it. But what was the trigger this time?
Just school. I was thinking if I don't swim anymore, and I'm not head boy, and you might have heard I'm not very good at acting, then just who the hell am I? Like maybe I don't care about anything enough.
Whoa, you're 17, you don't have to have it all figured out.
This is not the message the world is giving me.
Maybe try just being Jackson Marchetti for a little bit.
All right, I'll try.
There's an interesting line there from Cal. You're 17, you don't have to have it all figured out. Do you think that sometimes our mental health can be impacted by the pressure to have everything sorted?
Oh my God, yeah. I feel like it's getting worse. There's more of an expectation to be earning a lot of money, to be the most beautiful, to have a total purpose. And it's poisoned, I suppose, our ability to feel okay with just giving ourselves some time. I honestly think the feeling of inadequacy might be at an all-time high because we're constantly in touch with examples of lives that we compare ourselves to.
Social media.
Yeah, social media. And
I think we get that a lot. A lot of our clients are finding it incredibly hard, especially during a time like the pandemic, like seeing people achieve so much and then feeling like you haven't done anything in a year. That pressure is a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
There are also these kind of accepted limitations that aren't even necessarily true. So again, for example, the age you're expected to have certain things, you know, maybe be able to get a house,
kids,
have a
all those
relationship,
kind of
kids.
things.
Yeah, there's all these ideas of where you should be. When in reality, you know, everybody's life path is different. What they're able to achieve, dependent on their circumstances, is different. And the dream is for people to be okay with that.
Yeah. Kenny, for you, how has your relationship with your mental health changed over time?
It's been through so many different stages. Like when I was younger, like one of the things I commonly used to say is I just want to be happy. And I didn't know what that meant because there were, like you said, there were so many different expectations of what happiness and success kind of meant.
Yeah.
But as I got older, it was more about being at peace with myself and my decisions, and just being like content in who I am and my identity and kind of how the world views me as a trans man. When you're subjected to transphobia and racism, it's hard to navigate as well as just like being a teenager and navigating those like normal things. And so I've got really strict with myself in terms of boundaries that I set to protect my mental health. And that's probably been the biggest change over the years.
Yeah, boundaries are essential.
Yeah.
So essential.
I feel like maintaining good mental health is a mixture of boundaries and doing things that bring you joy.
Yeah.
For me, it's like stepping away from conversations I don't want to be in, not giving energy to people that I don't want to give it to, taking time to just go for a drive or a bike ride, And just doing little things that bring me joy, like playing with my dog. Do you know, it looks different for everybody, do you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
absolutely.
But
Self-care.
yeah.
The word boundaries seem to resonate with all of you. What's been the biggest learning for any of you? Maybe I can start with you, Agnes, in terms of your mental health and your own mental health journey.
One of the biggest learnings has been that it really takes a village, that I can't do it on my own.
Yeah.
I think surrendering to accepting the fact that if I need to get through some tough times, I'm going to need some people around me to help me get through that. Learning how to trust, learning how to love, learning how to listen, and allowing other people in.
Love that.
I love that too.
Sometimes it helps to write down what you want to say first.
I'm not good at writing.
Or you can ask the other person to close their eyes whilst you talk to them.
Sounds stupid.
What I'm saying is, it might help you think more clearly about what you want to say if you don't feel observed. It's just a suggestion.
I'm going now. You should wear your normal clothes again. That top makes your neck look very long.
I think boundaries has been my most recent accomplishment in terms of self-care and self-preservation. I often say yes quite quickly to things because I'm excitable. I'm like a little chocolate Labrador. Do you know what I mean? and I love caring for others, which is not a bad thing, but it's important to understand that you do actually need to take care of yourself first, not to an extreme. All of this is in moderation, you know?
You sort of touched on it a little bit here for my next question, which is, and if you feel comfortable to share, what are some of your own coping strategies if you're having a bad mental health day?
I have an emergency state of health list that I have on my phone. So anytime it gets to a point where I'm really unable to take care of myself, like things like reach out to one person and tell them how I feel. Buy like microwave noodles and things like that because I don't tend to cook foods because I don't really want to take care of myself, but I need to eat in order to
something you can quickly
quickly make. So just being smart with how I know my body reacts. Like even small things like making sure that I shower or brush my teeth, because when you're in a bad place, that's the first thing to go. Do you know what I mean? So other things like making sure I go for walks, I try to plan as much self-care in that day as possible, so that I feel like if you fill your days with more good things, slowly but surely, like you'll start to feel better. I feel like if you don't invest into good habits, all you're doing is kind of like sitting in the same place. And I don't think that helps. I feel like that just helps you spiral.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's knowing my triggers. I know that if I'm going through really bad mental health, I know the first thing that I pick up is either going to make me spiral or it's going to help me. So I just ensure that the first thing that I start doing is actually good for my body. Whether that means starting with a healthy meal, that means I'm very unlikely going to spiral into something else. Whereas if I, order McDonald's and delivery, that means McDonald's and delivery until the day that I feel better.
Right.
It just becomes too much. Or like if it's one glass of wine, then it's 2 bottles. It goes, there's no in between. So I just have to make sure that the first thing that I do is good for me. Otherwise, that's it. It's a downward spiral.
You sort of touched on this a little bit earlier when you mentioned social media, because people obviously talk a lot about mental health pressures that come from living our lives online. Do any of you find social media can have an impact on your personal mental health?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Kenny, you offered an emphatic yes. Could you elaborate on that?
Honestly, like, there's just no space for nuance. You can't talk about the grey on social media. Like, you can't explain that in a caption.
No.
And so you either find yourself swinging left or swinging right in situations. And I'm like, I feel like it's easy to lose yourself in that.
Yeah.
Because I'm a person who really respects the grey and wants the difficult conversation and to actually get to the bottom of things and not just agree for the sake of agreeing. And you can't do that on social media. Again, it goes back to boundaries and thinking like, making sure that I stand strong in my personal opinion and not being swayed by the conversation or because it's more popular or, do you know what I mean? Whatever else,
Or
just
the
saying to
urgency
who.
from everyone to react to stuff. Are you going to
absolutely.
speak on this? And it's like, I haven't even had a chance to even catch up on what's going on.
And also, you shouldn't speak about things that you don't know about.
At all. Agnes, can you tell us a bit about setting up Black Minds Matter and the specific issues that young Black people might have when it comes to speaking out?
There is this stigma that exists in the Black community. I don't like talking about it too much because at the end of the day, we have a right to have the stigma. We've been failed so many times by the healthcare system that you can't blame people for having a reluctance to speak on stuff. However, in a lot of Black, especially African families, children are not awarded the space to be listened to as much as possible. And we also have this tendency, especially if you're religious, to take your problems to God and no one else. So it can be really difficult for children, especially children who are experiencing modern day issues that African parents are just not used to talking about. It can be incredibly difficult for them to even be willing to open up to their own parents.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have clients who, for example, apply for therapy and they don't have a safe space to discuss their problems. And that is just so sad because the service is there, but these kids don't feel comfortable talking because mum and dad is in the other room. And that's something that I think as a community we really need to talk more about.
So why did you go all woozy today?
It's anxiety. I've always had it, but it's been pretty bad recently. I think now I'm not swimming, I haven't got a routine. And I get triggered by the most random stuff.
It's okay. I have anxiety too, so I get it.
So we know things are changing slowly, but how would you all like to see the conversation around mental health going forward change? What more needs to be done? Agnes, I'd love to go to you first.
I think we need to get more comfortable with talking about serious mental health. Everyone's talking about anxiety and depression, but as soon as conversations about schizophrenia, psychosis, PTSD, like severe PTSD, I mean, Amy, bless her, couldn't even get on a bus after what had happened. Everyone kind of shies away from that. And when you look at Black people, for example, we're 7 times more likely to be diagnosed with psychosis. It's time that we start talking about, you know, those triggers and like what that means and stop completely like demonizing it in the Black community, because we've heard it time and time again, how people kind of assume, for example, that someone is possessed, for example, just kind of changing the languages and the ways that we talk and describe people that suffer from severe mental health.
Yeah,
I think
language is
that was
big.
definitely one big thing that I'd like to see change.
I think it's organizations for me. Like Black Minds Matter, like I would love to see more charities and organizations like that, because I feel like, you know, as a Black trans man, I want to talk to someone who's either Black or trans, because they're going to have a more understanding of my lived experience. And so connecting there and like making sense of my lived experience and just like guiding me on a good journey and making me become more positive and all of those things. I just think it's reliant on like, because if I'm talking, I'll be honest, if I'm talking to a white person, sometimes we don't have the same experience.
Yeah.
And so they don't understand, and I spend so much of my time educating them to get them to the point where they even understand. And it's like, I don't want to spend my days educating, I just want support and help. And so I think it's, just more specific charities and organizations to help more marginalized groups. And the intersections of all of those marginalized groups also. So I would really love to see that.
It's unacceptable at this point that there isn't like a holistic approach to schooling either. I think this can start a lot earlier. There is a massive, massive, massive elephant in the room there too in school, where there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be educated about your own body and the people around you when you're developing. It's insane to me. Like there's reports, I remember that reading something about a school in Harlem that replaced detention with meditation, and the behavioural discrepancies changed dramatically in that, because you're not punishing someone, you're not forcing them into a space where you're actually allowing them to communicate with their own bodies. It is beyond comprehension that isn't already a thing.
This was fantastic, honestly. Thank you so, honestly, Jordan, Kenny, Agnes, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
That was great. Agnes, thanks for staying on the Sex Education Unpacked sofa. We've also been joined by the woman behind it all, Laurie Nunn. Laurie, hello.
Hi.
In season 3, we see Amy continue to heal from the trauma of being sexually assaulted on the bus. She goes to therapy, learns to love her body again, and begins to engage with feminism. Let's see her in action.
Sorry. I just find it hard to talk about it sometimes.
It's okay. We don't have to talk about anything you don't want to.
I just want to be the old me again.
Well, you may never be the old you, Amy. But that's okay. You know, as human beings, we are constantly changing and developing. And by processing this trauma, you may gain clarity on the event itself, and we can move you towards healing the relationship with your body again. Would you like that?
Yeah, I'd like that.
Laurie, when thinking about this storyline, were you inspired by wider movements such as Me Too?
The story for Amy Series 2 strand came from a really personal experience in my own life. So I was sexually assaulted on a local bus, and I knew that was something that I wanted to kind of explore through writing the show, and I knew that Amy was an interesting character to do that with. And then moving into series 3, it felt really important to me that her strand just didn't fall away, and that I wanted to show that, you know, if you've experienced trauma, but particularly sexual trauma, it's not something that just disappears. It's something that you know, continue to like carry with you throughout your life. And yeah, in terms of the Me Too movement, I don't think that it necessarily like inspired me to write it, but I think that that movement has given myself and so many women like the confidence and the tools and the language to reflect on our experiences and say, I think this is actually a really important story and I want to tell it, and I think it like deserves to be seen and spoken about. Yeah.
One of the things that I love so much about the way that Amy's storyline happens in season 3 is that it doesn't just fall away. I think that other shows, perhaps it would still be present in flashbacks or things like that, but you actually see Amy go to therapy, and that is a really important change and moment for that character. Agnes, it's interesting what Amy says about wanting to be the old her. Why can sexual trauma be so difficult for women to move forward from?
One of the annoying things about sexual assault is it starts so early. But we're not educated enough about the different forms of sexual assault. Like, I remember going to sort of like an under 16 nightclub and having the bouncer grope me as I was walking in. And I didn't think that was a bad thing. But I'm under 16, he should not be doing that. And it took me a very long time to accept that. I was in this kind of like long period of denial that, you know, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I was wearing a short skirt. Like, you know, he deserved access to my body. I think it's just difficult because a lot of the time we're in denial for such a long time, and then having to just accept that somebody has violated you is difficult, and then having to accept that it's going to be a part of you for a very long time is even harder.
Yeah, I think you're so right as well. Like, sometimes it feels like things happen, and then by the time you even realise it was a thing, you're like, oh, is it too late for me to even address it? Like, should I just continue? You're absolutely right about that.
Do you feel that if you hadn't smiled at him, he wouldn't have assaulted you?
I don't know.
Had you smiled at strangers before? And had that led to them assaulting you? Listen to me, Amy. What that man did to you on the bus has nothing to do with your smile or your personality, and is only about him. And it is absolutely not your fault.
What advice would you give to someone who is at the beginning of that journey of sort of understanding an experience that's happened to them, such as Amy's storyline?
I think the most important thing is finding people that you trust, people who are professionals, who understand the various forms of trauma, especially sexual assault, because the most dangerous thing that you can ever do to yourself during a journey of healing is share your story with somebody that is not quite versed on the topic, and also that could possibly gaslight you.
Laurie, was it important for you to have Amy go to therapy and actually seek out help and have that conversation?
Yeah, I feel like in series 2, she really gets the sort of catharsis and the help from her peers, from her female friends, and like realizing that she's not alone in that experience, that like other women in her life have had similar things happen.
Yeah.
To me, it felt like really important to say to anyone that's watching the show that has been through something like that, that there is a point at which, if you're still carrying those like negative feelings towards yourself and your own body, that you should seek professional help, and that there is like a lot of services out there that can give you, the tools to like move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Agnes, Laurie, thank you so much for joining me. Now, I need a break. I'm sweating, I'm tired, my throat's dry, my lips are not dry because they've got gloss on them. It's a hard work doing this presenting job. So I'm handing the presenting reins over to Jordan for the next segment, where he's going to quiz Laurie on the making of Sex Education. I'll see you back in the games room afterwards.
Thanks, Gina. Laurie, How are you? We've talked a lot about the different mental health themes that run through season 3. How did you go about deciding what journeys you want the characters to take?
To be honest, like with the characters, it's really just working out what feels the most kind of like organic and dramatic in terms of where they're going to head next. And then the issues tend to sort of present themselves. So it's like, with Jackson, for example, with his anxiety, we know that that is baked into his character and that's like part of who he is. And then that really affects, the different storylines that he has. And so I'm like always thinking about that, I guess, when I'm writing.
We're into 3 seasons now, which is, a long period of time. And I think more than ever, conversations are like rapidly shifting. Are you influenced by the conversation in wider society in terms of the individual struggles that they have?
I try not to sort of come at the stories from that sort of perspective. I think because the show is about teenagers and the teenage experience is so universal, those issues just tend to sort of present themselves in quite an organic way with the characters. And then, and then I work with a team of really great writers and it's everybody's own personal experiences.
Yeah, they're coming in with different examples.
Yeah.
If anyone asks, the wobbly bits aren't mistakes because...
All vulvas are unique.
Good lad. They better not be squished.
But one thing that Sex Education does incredibly well is deal with these topic matters that are, predominantly quite heavy, but I suppose a way of making it enjoyable or accessible, is probably the better word, is balancing the darkness with light, So how do you go about striking that balance?
Yeah, so my favourite type of writing is really anything that has like both happy and sad
comedy and tragedy
emotions in it.
Yeah.
And I love it when it's actually in the same scene or in the same character.
Right.
Because I feel like that's true of, being a human, I guess, that it's complicated and messy and funny and sad at the same time. When I'm writing, I'm always trying to think of the comedy first because I think that's then how I'm able to then talk about this sort of darker and more like dramatic things because maybe I've like sort of lured people in through the jokes and then, I get to tell a storyline like Amy in the Bus in series 2, which is, I guess darker or more serious.
You have to earn the right. Well, Laurie, thank you. Wicked to speak to you.
You too.
Jordan, I feel so relaxed after that break. Thank you so much. Now, we've ditched the sofas, the aprons are on. That means one thing. It's time for our after-school challenge. This one is for all you food tech fans out there. Inspired by Amy's foray into the world of baking, you're going to have 3 minutes to design your very own sex education-themed cake. You've got icing, you've got sprinkles, you've got some questionable supermarket cakes, and you've got a brief that is extremely open to interpretation, so kind of just do what you want. I'm going to give us 3 minutes.
Oh, mate.
Oh, shoot, we've got 3 minutes.
3, 2, 1, go.
How do you...
I'm just going to start.
Listen, I don't know what... How...
Should I just do this?
Do you put these nozzles on this or... Oh, yeah.
Okay. The icing to like...
Don't add that.
What?
Oh, that's good. Should we just use the icing, actually?
Yeah. Right, you have to draw like the insides.
Oh, maybe just do like... And then use the icing on top to...
Yeah, but how do you do that with the faces?
I can do that. And then you do the other thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Oh, that's good.
Truthfully, no. But I feel, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, you do.
But I was going to do a real beautiful...
All right, yeah, you do that. You do that. No, go in. And I'll top it up. I'll top it up.
You're right.
We could use this as the whole...
This won't come out.
You're gone.
Oh, fuck, they've already got it out. Okay,
cherry.
yeah.
Maybe a cherry.
Yeah, you cherry.
Okay.
Okay, like...
Was that supposed to go around the whole thing?
No, because you have to leave the bit underneath to...
To say it. Okay, yeah. Okay, 1 minute gone.
Oh my God.
Wait, do the faces.
Okay.
I don't know why it's making it really...
Wait, this is insane.
Oh, no, okay. Lord have mercy. Oh,
Wait.
Don't do that. You've done the faces, right?
yeah, I'm trying.
All right.
Yes, that's really good. Oh my God, that is...
You've done a whole...
Oh, that was...
And then maybe just we could make this a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
Look, there we go. Yeah.
This is embarrassing.
I'm loving this.
Oh my god, this is brilliant.
Oh, wait, it's going down. It's sinking.
And then maybe we could use these as well.
1 minute.
For,
30 seconds left.
and this could like
How do you
represent your
do the
identity.
faces?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's got to be an easier way to write this. This is too thick. Okay, I'm writing it with this. Well, less than a minute left to go.
What do you mean?
Sorry, okay,
This is the worst idea of a challenge. No, this is. Oh.
No, it's fine. Okay.
No, that's not gonna.
Well, because I don't know,
You know
what to
what?
write
Do
it
you know what we
with.
should do instead?
Okay.
Is this first. Let's do this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
How long have we got left?
Yeah, how long we got left? Check-in time.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
How long we got?
We've got 30 seconds left. Fuck!
It's falling apart.
I don't know why I didn't do that before.
Yeah. It's,
Okay, there we go.
okay.
This is.
It's white.
It's falling apart.
Oh, maybe we should do it like this.
Wait, let's do it that. It's more.
Sprinkles.
Yeah. You add the sprinkles.
You,
What can you do? What's this?
Oh my god, yeah, we need some more blood.
How do you?
Yeah, put that down. We've got 5 seconds for 3. Oh, stop.
Oh my god, what is that?
What is?
Oh wow, this is a masterpiece. I'm so proud of this.
This has been a great time.
Please, can you explain the thought process behind your cake? I'd love to hear that.
Okay. So the idea was that I wanted to draw basically a vagina, but also with an enlarging clitoris, because as a trans man, part of taking testosterone is you grow an enlarging clitoris. And essentially, this is the orgasm here.
Okay.
But the blood represents, well, the red represents period blood.
Okay.
So having sex in your period, and then we've added in some
Which is
sprinkles
something
here.
that you're not taught enough in school. Like you're made to feel like your periods are disgusting.
True.
But you still have every right to please yourself, even
Yeah.
in your periods. So that's the explosion.
Yes. And we've used many colours and been artistic as much as we could. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Smashed it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Amazing. It is good. Jordan, tell us about what we were going for here.
So what we were going for is, you know, in a swimming pool, there's the no petting signs.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do like a little red, yeah?
Yeah.
And then there's people kissing.
That was the black that we did.
Icing is like fucking hard to use.
It is.
So that didn't happen. And then basically with the excitement and elation of finishing, I thought, fuck my idea, threw everything else on it. And now it's just a representation of the chaos we all feel inside in our late teens.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Thank you. I thank you very much.
Yeah.
I thank you very much. And it continues into adulthood.
I was gonna say this is a difficult one to judge, but
It
actually...
is hard to judge, it is. You're on my fucking team.
The cakes are both so unique in their own special way. I am going to give it to Kenny and Agnes. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Amazing. You do deserve it. You do deserve it. You do deserve it. Don't eat all that cake at once. It's great. Next up, we're handing the mic to the people who really matter, the sex education fandom. We've got some of the biggest stands of the show with some burning questions for the sex ed cast. Let's take a look.
Hello, cast of Sex Education. My name's Maya, and my question is, if you could have an animal for a pet, and it doesn't matter whether they're domesticated or wild, what would it be? And I love the show.
I mean, dog's
You
great.
have a dog though, don't you?
I do have a dog called Jim, and he's great. He's very loud. I'm trying to think of recently. Well, you know, pandas have been taken off the endangered species list.
I would have to,
Panda.
Or a
Panda.
sloth.
Or get him. I'll have the panda. You can have the sloth.
I'll have what you're
and we'll go on play dates.
Oh,
with
in the
them.
zoo.
Yes.
Hello there, my name is Nilay and I'm from India. My question for the cast of Sex Education is that if you were living in Modale in real life, which character do you think you would be best mates with? Or, hang out with the most?
Mr. Hendricks. right?
Yeah.
He's
Out my head.
He's so funny.
Constantly entertained. Constantly.
That's such a good one. Okay, quick fire. I think Joe from the Caravan Park. Joe and Cynthia. Not Joe and Cynthia.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Oh, yeah. That's another one.
Jeffrey's
That is a
hilarious.
good one.
Hey there, cast of Sex Education. My name is Nick. I'm from Bel Air, Maryland in the United States. And I'm a huge fan of Sex Education. I love everything that you guys have done with it. If I could just have one question to ask you guys, it would definitely be if you have a favorite prop or a favorite set piece from whether it's from the school or someone's bedroom or the house, what is it and why? Thanks, and I love you guys.
Ruby's car. If that counts as a prop, which I believe it does.
It does.
That is definitely my favourite prop.
Oh.
100%.
The only thing I could think of was there was just loads of like penises on set, like nothing to do with me at all, that I just always liked.
Which is the most iconic scene from Sex Education for you and why?
It's going to sound so random, but I love Mr. Hendricks, yeah. So I think my favourite part of the scene in the series is just like when he's practicing with the band and he's going over the moves and he's like up, twist, elbow and all that. I love that bit. And like his little beef with Quentin. That for me is the most iconic bit of the show. That's a bit, I've got that saved on YouTube. I go back and watch it occasionally just to cruise.
Laurie, Jordan, Kenny and Agnes, thank you all for joining me for this episode of Sex Education Unpacked. But sadly, it's time to say goodbye. I'll see you soon and don't forget to watch Sex Education Season 3.